Hello and welcome to the Smart Divorce Podcast. And I'm delighted to be joined today by the divorce goddess, otherwise known as Tosh Brittan, but I really like the divorce goddess. So I think we might just call you that for today.
It's so funny, everybody says that, and I'm literally going, no, it's just the thing.
It's beautiful. It's lovely. I love it. It's a fabulous name.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today, Tosh. That's so cool. I have a proper introduction, so I'm going to give you your full on introduction. So, in 2021, Tosh co-authored #1 bestseller Mindfulness for Challenging Times with her chapter Mindful Ways Through Conflict. And she is a divorce life coach and trained mindfulness teacher, which I think, gosh, this year we all absolutely need. She started her Divorce Goddess blog in 2014, and as a child of divorced parents, she chose kindness as her foundation of her divorce. Her coaching embodies a different approach to conflict and divorce, empowering her clients to transform their divorce experience. She's featured in The Times, Sunday Times, and Weekend FT, BBC, ITV, and Sky. She's also spoken on mental health summits and podcasts and has her own podcast, The Divorce Goddess, which is ranked number 41 in the US and number 16 in the UK relationship charts. Tosh is a listed divorce consultant in the Spears 500 Directory 2021 edition, which is some heck of an achievement.
Thank
So
you.
that is fabulous. Tosh, thank you so much for joining me. I, as you know, am a massive fan of your work. And I wanted to start off by talking to you about your work as a divorce coach. So how did you get into that work?
So I started my blog and I got about 100,000 hits on the blog. And it was kind of back in the day where nobody really talked about the emotional side of divorce. And it was something that I really needed. And I'd been to a counsellor or a couple of counsellors, and they didn't really know about divorce, and nobody fully understood what I was feeling. And so I just kind of wrote about it, and I just wrote about everything I was feeling, and all these people started messaging me. And then I set up a Facebook group, which I then closed last year because I wanted it to be about empowering people, and it was, yeah, it sort of changed a bit, which I'm actually thinking about opening up another one. But and then people just started asking me questions, and somebody said, do you do any coaching? And I'd been a sort of mindfulness coach and teacher anyway, so and I just realized that, you know, having gone through pretty much bankruptcy, overseas moves, divorce, that actually I was quite well placed to talk and understand the fears and the emotions, and just sort of be quite empathetic about, you know, how people were feeling, and yeah, and so yeah, it just sort of carried on, and I was, you know, anyway, and yeah, I've almost finished my life coaching my certification anyway, so I'm, yeah, I don't know, it was just a weird thing, it just kind of fell into. And just, I think when we try and, like, when I grow up, I want to be this, it doesn't always happen the way we think it's going to happen. And if somebody said to me, oh, you're going to get a divorce, I'm like, I would have just laughed at it and gone, no way, I'm not going to do that. But actually, for me, it's lovely. And like, people say to me, do you get affected by it? And, you know, do you get upset, or, you know, do you feel kind of exhausted at the end of the day? And none of this touches me. I just want to say now, I literally am so blessed, and I love what I do. And just those moments, probably a bit like you, Tamsin, when that, you know, there's that light bulb moment inside your clients, and they get it, and they suddenly rediscover their power, and they feel more confident, their self-worth goes up, and you just go, wow, you can't buy this. You can't buy this amazing feeling you get when your clients are just flying. It's amazing. So that's kind of where I went with it,
Yeah,
and
no.
still am. And, you know, and then I got the podcast, and obviously that sort of has gone on. Yeah. And what's really amazing as well is I'm on a webinar and a panel talking about conflict and co-parenting. So that's something that's coming up at the beginning of July for professionals, run by our Family Wizard, which is a co-parenting app. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm really happy to be there as a divorcee who has, you know, experienced it, and as somebody who can help other people as well now.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think it does, probably not family lawyers so much, but I think a lot of us who work in the divorce arena have been there ourselves. And I think it massively helps, because you're going to have had a different divorce to the people you work with, and things are going to have been different because most people's are different, but you'll know some of the fears that they're experiencing and some of the emotions and some of the ups and downs. So
Yeah.
in terms of working with people who are going through divorce, when do you start it? Is it like, right, I separated yesterday,
Brilliant.
today I give Tosh a call?
Brilliant. I prefer actually for them to give me a ring before they actually have a conversation or they decide to get a divorce.
About leaving.
Yeah.
Now give Tosh a call.
Yeah, I just think if there are people that are thinking, oh goodness me, do I do it or do I not? You just need to get support and a different, I mean, for me, you know, I don't know how other divorce coaches work. I think pretty much we're all working along the same line, but for me, it's divorce is a life experience from which you can learn. It's an opportunity, although it doesn't feel like it, but the sooner you get yourself into that mindset, the less you kind of slip down that very slippery slope that can happen very, very quickly of being very, very angry, being bittered, resentful, and it all builds up. You know, we create this sort of new neural pathway of, you know, the divorce that we can so easily slip into. And for me, actually, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff that's gone on anyway that has got you to this place. Whether you're aware of it or not, on some level, I believe everybody kind of knows if there's stuff going down in your marriage and you're kind of, you know, brushing it under the carpet thinking, oh, it's just part of married life. And when it bites us at the end, you kind of go, oh yeah, there it was. But you know, that would have sort of created a less deep neural pathway, but it's one that you can start working from day one, so it doesn't get any deeper. And I believe that divorce is like an opportunity to grow and to build and create amazing foundations for the rest of your life. And it feels very hard thinking, you know, especially if you're at the beginning of the process, thinking, crikey, that just feels massive and overwhelming. But it's just small steps every day. It's like it's a habit like anything else. You know, you were talking about your runs going to do the Manchester Marathon, you know, and we all have to train.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, I heard somebody the other day say, not the other day, a few months ago, saying, you know, we all have to do what we don't want to do to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, definitely. That's really good advice. And I think, so one of the things that I've come to understand pretty clearly is that the emotional side of things needs to be sorted, or at least touched upon first. You have to start getting your emotional
ducks.
Yeah, that's exactly
in order. I thought I could almost see that words coming out of your head on the Zoom, on the camera, thinking emotional ducks.
Emotional ducks, yeah, you need to get your emotional ducks in a row right at the beginning before you start needing to make big decisions, because you can't do that unless you're in the right emotional state. So you talked,
and then you're less likely to give something duck in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're totally right. You talked about neural pathways. So for our listeners for whom neural pathways are, you might as well have asked us to talk about the Einstein's theory of relativity. Could you just run through what a neural pathway is and what you're talking about?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I just kind of... So a neural pathway is a habit of thinking. So that might be if, oh, he always does or she always does that to me. And it's your go-to. And it's almost like, you know, if you think of it like, okay, so we'll just talk about pathway, we'll talk about a strip of earth, yeah. And, or actually, no, we'll talk the example of a park in summer. And so there are paths that people travel on, and they walk across the grass, and sooner or later the grass wears away. And then you've got that pathway.
Okay.
And actually, and if you've ever done it and you've ever been in a park, even in the summer, and you've seen that pathway, you kind of go, you automatically just want to walk on it because everybody else has walked on it, and that's the way you would normally walk. But actually, just notice and choose a different path across the grass, and just notice, you know, and I call them the divorce mind monkeys, where they're going, oh, why are you not walking on the path? Why are you not, you know, walking along that path, that well-worn path? And with anything, it's like going to the gym. It's like training your muscles from day one. It's like, you know, you might have muscles that, you know, you've been using for years, and it's about using new ones for, you know, a new set of exercises, and just slowly using those and building that pathway in your mind. So your mind goes, oh, I'm at the gym, this is what I'm going to be doing, and I can manage this. And what the divorce mind monkeys do is they jump in, and they want to keep you safe. So they're going to ask you to question what you're doing with something new, whether it's going to be good for you. So on top of being divorce exhausted, mind fog and everything else, you've got these little divorce mind monkeys asking you to question everything, which is why the more we practice and we adopt these habits, we can create our new path or neural pathway across the park. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Did I
When you
explain that?
talk about
Clearly enough? Sorry.
that was ace. When you talk about divorce mind monkeys, when I was a child, I had some plastic monkeys that you could hang off each other and make a really long. And when I think about those, it's those like hanging together on my shoulder that I always think of.
It's so funny because I've actually got a blog, and I found my children's plastic monkeys, and I hung them all up, and then I took a photo of me looking at those monkeys, and it's on one of my blog posts, a photograph of me looking at these monkeys.
That's so funny. I love that. I do like the idea of being able to kind of redirect and rewire your neural pathways. So when I'm thinking about neural pathways, I loved your about walking across a path in a park, because that totally makes sense. And I've always thought about it about like an electronic circuit. So it's connected to one thing, and then if that's not serving you well, you can reconnect it to something that serves you better. And I think that's what it's roughly about, is it?
Yeah, but the mind monkeys again are going, no, don't reconnect, because you might get hurt. If you try something different, it might hurt you. They want to protect you. There might be a saber-toothed tiger waiting for you. There might be the unknown, and you know, whoever we want to call you, Rex or whatever. But yeah, so it's just kind of, but this is why I'm kind of all about like getting reconnected to yourself, like getting out of your head, reconnect to your body. And that is about, you know, whether you're taking deep breaths, you know, whether you're drinking enough water, whether you're feeding yourself well, with good healthy food, whether it's getting outside, getting some fresh air, doing some exercise, because our body is the best barometer of how we're feeling. You know, if we're stressed, we're going to feel it in our body. If we're not drinking water, we're going to have a headache, you know, stomach rumbles, you know, we get hangry if we haven't eaten, or we're tired, or if we're overtired. Everything is in our bodies. And the more we can listen to our body and kind of really come back into looking after ourselves, then we are more able to observe when we go into a meeting, or we send a text back or a message or an email, or do anything around divorce, that we can do it from a place of we have like a buffer. We can kind of go, actually, I'm feeling a bit hangry, I might just write this email, have something to eat, come back and read it. Just notice whether I could use some better, you know, less inflammatory, triggering language, whether I can be, you know, it's like, you know, turning up to mediation. It's like, you know, if your go-to is a load of coffee in the morning and no breakfast, and you turn up to a meeting with anybody, there's going to be no surprise if you're all a bit hyper and maybe a little bit angsty and you're a bit supercharged. So actually it's like, no, come on, right? Especially if you haven't slept as well. So it's like, have some breakfast, reduce the coffee, reduce the sugary foods you might want to eat beforehand, and just kind of, give yourself the best opportunity to be able to, not slip into that neural pathway.
Right, this is fascinating for me because I am one of the least self-aware people you will ever meet in your life.
That really surprises me. Well, you're doing a very good job persuading me otherwise, because looking at your Instagram feed, I'm like, oh, she's so cool. It's like, well, you are cool anyway, but tell me.
So I have no idea. So all these, I understand about drinking water and sleeping properly and feeding your body with the right foods and fuel and so on. However, I find it really difficult to go to kind of look inside myself for what I'm not doing right, what I'm missing. So have you got any tips that would help lunatics like me who have zero self-awareness when it comes to these things?
Okay, especially for lunatics like you, because I used to be a lunatic until I had to learn good and proper and hard and really eat humble pie and everything else I had to do in my life to get to this space. So there's a really amazing Dr. Christopher Woolard is his name, and he created this this basically this acronym: hungry, angry, lonely, tired, halt. And hunger. So what I would suggest to anybody who's listening is you write down HALT and then put an I underneath as well. And I'm going to explain why. And so H is for hungry. So stick it up on your fridge. Yeah, do it on your fridge. And I suggest for all the family as well, because if you're going through something tough as well, your children might be going through something tough. And if people don't really want to talk because they can't express themselves, or they're a bit disconnected from because they're in their heads and they're going through stuff and they're worrying, they've got divorce fog, all this other stuff, put this on your fridge, put it somewhere that the whole family can go, I think you're feeling this. And you go, do you know what? Yeah, I am. So H is for hungry.
Yeah.
A is for angry.
Yeah.
L is for feeling lonely. So maybe you've had a bad day at school, or maybe you haven't spoken to anybody during the day, just feeling a little bit like, feel sorry for yourself, like I just really need a hug.
That's my sweet treats moment.
That one too. And then the T is for tired, so if somebody's feeling a bit grumpy, they've had a bad day, bad meeting, or bad school, whatever it is, and T is for tired. And then the other one, because I used to teach mindfulness to cancer patients and women going through and beyond cancer, they said, what about ill? And I went, you're absolutely right, we need to put ill in there as well. So that's I, and particularly these days as well, because I think people are worried about their health as well, and just have these 5 letters with what they mean beside it on the fridge. And if you're feeling a bit like that, or one of your children is, I remember my son used to come in and he used to be, and I'd be like, which one are you feeling? And he'd point normally to hungry. And then we'd all go, oh, that's why you're a bit off calorie, you're a bit grumpy, because you're actually hangry or hungry. So yeah, so that's what I would say.
That's brilliant. We have a thing. So I have a 17-year-old, and he clearly displays when his blood sugar drops. So we have to feed him at regular. It sounds ridiculous. He's 17, but we have to make sure he eats at regular intervals, because otherwise he will just get mad, like properly mad. So yeah.
That sounds like my dog and the puppies at the moment. They will start squealing on every couple of hours. She just wanders in there rolling her eyes going, oh, blimey, not again.
Not again.
But it's true. But the more we kind of like focus, it's like, if you're not a morning person and you're going to feel a bit, and you've got a meeting to go into, or you've got mediation, or you've got, if you're a morning person, perhaps don't book an appointment in the morning with your lawyer or your financial advisor or planner or whoever, or coach, or whoever you need help from, because you're not going to be on tip top. But also, it's okay if you're not a morning person. We're not all designed to be the same. It's like if somebody says, oh, I've got to go running, or I've got to do some exercise, I've got to go in the morning, and you hate it as a result. It's okay to change it and go running in the evening or in the afternoon, or find somewhere else when another time when you can do it. I mean, obviously, if you've got small children, it might be slightly difficult, but just sort of get into that. I think we have this thing in life that we have to do it in a certain way, and as soon as we feel we have to do it in a certain way, or we should do, we almost block it and it becomes difficult. So really notice as well, for awareness, what works for you and what doesn't. And if something just repeatedly feels difficult, maybe just kind of go, okay, how can I do this differently?
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. That's more stuff that I need to think more clearly about. What times of day am I best? So I want to talk to you about kindness, because this is a huge focus for you and the work that you're doing with your divorcing clients. And I remember it was only a few months ago reading for the first time that a post that you'd put on Instagram about kindness. And I was like, yeah, that's the word. That's just, if I was going through divorce and reading that, I'm in, because it is so important. So why is it so important to you?
Because if you choose kindness, then you're choosing to look after yourself, and you're choosing a different way. And I think the go-to for so many people, they've only felt like you just have to go to war or battle or fight. And I never use any of those words, because actually it doesn't. And I think the problem when you say kindness and divorce, people go, oh, well, that means you're going to be a doormat, and you're going to be run roughshod over, and you're not going to make good decisions, and you're going to come out worse. That's not what it's about. It's actually about trusting the professionals you have in your life, like your lawyer and your financial planner, advisor, or whoever you're using, to do the job that you are paying them to do. And then kindness is about you. It's about looking after you. It's about you in 5, 10, 15, 20 years time, turning around and saying, somebody says to you, how was your divorce? And you go, actually, I had a divorce, it wasn't great. And actually can say with your heart, hand on your heart, that you don't feel, that resentment, that anger, that guilt, that regret, and all that stuff. And we all know people, who have been through a divorce, and you just feel it off them. And I just think, I just did not want to be that person. And that's what sort of the whole foundation of my coaching is about. But also because, I've got parents who are, 30 years on, don't even talk to each other. And you just think, no, that's not going to happen. Not on my manner. That's not happening. No. And actually, it's just kind of going, actually, you can do this. You can do this in a nice way. So you at least know that you showed up for yourself, and you honored yourself, and you didn't have to feel like you're fighting. And I guess kind of it all came from that. I talk about this conversation with these friends where they just say, go get him, do this, get that. And I just remember feeling really, really sick about it, and dreading the fact of a battle and a war. And I just thought, I want to try and do it a different way. And that's kind of like what my book is all about. I've stalled a little bit on the editing, but with an editor, but it's coming through. It's all happening, and it's all on target. But yeah, the book's all about kindness and divorce. So
I love it. I think so. I have parents who are those people that you just described, who were now 35 years on, and they can't be in the same room together, and as a result they miss stuff.
Yeah.
They can't
I agree.
And it makes life difficult for us, for me and my sister, as the children of that divorce, because they both came to my wedding with their respective partners, but there was the stress on me of trying to keep
The
them
management,
apart,
the
and not,
management.
yeah, and not knowing what hell was going to break loose if they're both very peaceful people. So there would be a war of words rather than a war of fists. But there's that additional pressure and stress on the even as adults, on the children of that divorce, and you miss stuff. You know what? Why would you want to have to miss your kids' sports day? I talk about this all the time, but your kids' sports days, the dance shows, the christenings, the weddings, the graduation,
it's just sad, isn't
all the
it?
important stuff.
Yeah.
If you have a kind divorce, if you can get through this amicably, you will, everybody benefits, surely. And like you say, it isn't about being a pushover, it's about being kind to yourself, and it's not being about being a people pleaser. It's about being kind to yourself, about using kind language to your ex, and being kind to your kids as well, I think is in there as well.
I just want to say one thing, because when we talk about kindness, a lot of people, if they've had their exes cheated on them or they've really hurt them in some way, that is really difficult. And the kindness doesn't make what somebody else did to you okay. Yeah. But actually and I talk about sort of the elements of forgiveness and acceptance, and it doesn't make what they did okay to you that okay. But it helps you heal the emotions and not carry them forward as well. And I always talk about, like, forgiveness is the healing, and the not forgetting is the lesson. And nobody's asking you to forget what happened to you, but actually it's how you feel about it, and actually letting go of all the emotion around it as well, and learning from it. Learning you're a really strong person and that you will get through this. And kindness is that lovely sort of foundational aspect of it to sort of help you, like, feel better about yourself as well. And it's an opportunity. But it's, it's a big ask. But I think for a lot of people, actually, it's about forgiving themselves because they didn't see it coming, or they felt stupid, or I was the last person to know. And we sort of turn in on ourselves, and that, and beat ourselves up for not getting it right, for being ashamed, for being a failure, for not being the good wife or the good husband or whatever it is. And actually that is where the element of kindness comes in. So it's not about, just being kinder to your ex. It's that element of self-kindness, which is hand in hand, and very much, I would say, almost, the first lot of kindness that has to be applied is to you, because actually if you can't be kind to yourself, how can you be kind to everybody else? I know we always kind of go, oh, it's a little bit kinder to be everybody else than ourselves, but we actually have to change that around and flip it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked then about when you've been the person that has been hurt or cheated on, but the kindness to yourself can work the other way around, because the guilt can sit on you if you've been the person who's met somebody else, or you feel that you've been unkind, or maybe you have, and that guilt that sits with you you can't carry that forever. And I think that being kind to yourself can work in that way as well. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think if you're going to sit there, beat yourself up for the rest of your life that you were just unkind and everything, I kind of feel that's quite indulgent, because who does that serve? What bit of that is serving anybody else? If you're, you did it, you did whatever you did, okay, so you can't undo it. So instead of just feeling guilty and sort of going, oh God, I feel so, I'm a terrible person, everything, it's like enough. Go and make it good. Go and do something really good. Like, go and make it good with your wife or your husband. Go and make it good with your children. Don't start tearing it out. Just like heal that guilt by being a kinder, more understanding, less conflictual person.
Yeah.
We always have choice. as to how we want things to go. And I think, you know, it's very easy when you feel you're feeling like the victim, that you don't have any choice, but actually you have a choice. Every time you speak, you think, you act. And I know, you know, you've mentioned this as well. It's just, this is what we do have. And I encourage, actually, I thought I'd share this with you while I'm kind of like drawing circles on the Zoom call here on the camera. Is, you know, if you're feeling like you have no control over everything, maybe draw a circle, and inside the circle, this is you. This is what you have control over. And it's your thoughts, words, actions, what you eat, how much water, sleep. You know, it's how you talk to your children, how you show up for meetings. It's how, you know, whether you take notes in meetings, whether you do your account. It's all these things that you can personally take responsibility for, exercise, whatever. And then draw a circle outside, and that's a circle you can't, things you can't control. And that might be things like politics, the weather, what your ex says about you. And just, you know, I think sometimes in that whole sort of divorce fog, that sort of, you know, that sort of state, that stress state, the fight, flight, freeze, we just, sometimes it's good just to get it onto paper and to have it in black and white, so you actually go, actually it's not looking so bad at the moment. You know, there is stuff that you know, but life is like this, you know, life kicks up all sorts when we least expect it. So
yeah, it really does. I quite like the description of divorce fog. It sort of brings to mind that the first few weeks of having a child, where you're in that, do you know what I mean?
Baby brain.
In that like mad state of eating, sleeping, changing nappies, and thinking, oh my word,
will this ever end? What have I done?
Yeah, but it feels a bit like that sort of. There's so many decisions to make, there's so much going on, and yet there's
no blueprint.
Yet there's nothing happening in a way. It's
and you don't really have a guide. We all have these books that we can read, but actually, you know, we are not that person going through that experience with all our life stuff that we've been through before. And it's, I mean, you know, it's, I think both you and I can both honestly and authentically say we felt it and we know it, and we, you know, it's not easy, but just take one day at a time, just to get up every day, get your teeth brushed, if that's all you do, and wash your face and put some cream on, you know, get yourself out the door, make your children's lunches, just do one thing every day that's good for you. Like, just, I don't know, just sitting there for 10 minutes, just doing some deep breaths, being kind to yourself with your words, and just believe that it's so funny. I was on a call earlier, and we were talking about one of the first clients I had when I was doing a sort of interview, and they're an airline pilot. And I didn't know at the time, I was just sort of talking about how I worked. And I said, just imagine, you know, your divorce is like you're taking off from one of the UK airports, and you're going through all these clouds and everything. And suddenly you get beyond the cloud cover, and there's this beautiful blue sky, and there's this lovely sunshine. And I just said, you know, the sky is always blue beyond the clouds. And he said, do you know what I do? And I said, no. And he said, I'm a pilot. And I couldn't stop laughing. And he was like, I'm never going to take off again without thinking of that. And my whole sort of the analogy about going through the divorce fog and then out the cloud cover into this beautiful blue sky. Yeah,
it's spot on. That absolutely spot on. It's a perfect analogy. I love that he was a pilot then.
I know it was so funny. It's
perfect.
Really tickled me.
So if you were going to work with somebody, so I'm sat at home thinking, I have got to the end of my tether. I am gonna have to sort this out and up and leave this relationship that's not working. I assume you work with couples, whether they're married or not, civil partnership or whatever. So I'm in that space, and I think, right, I remember that interview on that podcast and that lovely goddess lady.
Oh, that's so sweet.
What happens when someone contacts you? How does it look? How does it feel?
Okay, so how does it look? Somebody will phone me up and have a little chat, and invariably a lot of people just start crying because the relief of actually being able to reach out and talk to somebody who understands, and they sort of immediately feel held, and I'm sure you have that as well. It's just like that relief, you know, that, and because it's a huge step to reach out. And you know, we talk about like, oh, you just make a phone call or DM me. No, it's massive. And then so we'll have a little chat about, you know, what they want help with. And some people, they've got already organized great co-parenting. They just need emotional support and help to get themselves through it. Maybe they've been quite a controlling relationship and they don't have any confidence. And so that's why my work is more of a divorce life coach, because actually your divorce is for the rest of your life. You know, how you go through this can really define how you move forward. And then I will send them, we agree to work with each other, I send them about 20 questions, and it's really for them to look at their life, where they want to go, how they want to see their divorce, where would they like to be. And then we just start building over the weeks. And I do like a 3 or 6 month coaching, which is 12 sessions. So they can either have 12 sessions, so one every couple of weeks, or they can have one every week, depending on where they are in the process and how much support they need. Or they can have a 2-hour session and we just nail one aspect that they need to just focus and support on, and guidance and advice with. But it's a very much, you know, I do kick people's asses if they're not showing up and doing the work. Like, it's true though, because you know, it's so easy to go, oh no, I can't do this, it's really scary. And you know, I had a client, she came on the call and she went, I haven't done anything. I was like, right, well, you're going to WhatsApp me this, you're going to WhatsApp me that, even if it means just going out for a walk with your dog. Or, you know, somebody else sorted out their garden the other day and got a locksmith in and showed me the locksmith receipt. So I kind of asked people to do this because actually we need to know that somebody has our back. And I help people have their own back ultimately, but you can't just expect people to have their own back and not know how to get to that place where they have their own back. So I kind of really help people to get in there. I'm very much, finance, legal, and there's me, and there's no crossover. I know some, you know, there are other people that kind of do bits and bobs, but for me, it's very much the emotional. I stick with what I know, and but this whole life coaching thing as well. And, you know, it's about actually, this really is an opportunity to do something amazing with your life out of, and I talk about the lotus flower growing out of the mud, you know, the lotus grows out of the worst mud ever, and it's beautiful at the end, and like phoenix and ashes, they're all coming through now, but you know, out of everything unpleasant and bad, there is always an opportunity to come up shining and do it with a good heart and kindness and all that lovely stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. I think I could talk a lot about in the new chapter.
Lovely.
It's closing one chapter and it's opening another one, and you have a massive opportunity to design your new life in the way that you want it to look. And and I think working with you and having a bit of backside kicking and a bit of accountability, and just having somebody make those small steps forward is really important, because sometimes it is just about getting dressed every day.
It is. And I've actually had people say, right, I want you to take a photograph, I want to see you out doing this, I want you to see you doing that. And actually it's really, I just know how it really comes from my own self, actually, knowing that I could do with a bit of that. And I've been coached, it's like, come on, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I've been like, oh, okay, gotta do it, can't get out of it, no wriggle room.
Go on, Tosh, out of your PJs.
Yeah, out your PJs and your procrastination, and just get on with it.
That sounds good. That sounds
That's
good.
actually probably quite a good podcast title, isn't it?
Yeah,
Out your pajamas and procrastination.
that is. There you go.
Dun, dun,
You can have
dun.
that one.
Thanks.
We have just about come to the end of our time together.
Mm.
Before we go, is there anything that you think that I have missed or that you would like to leave our listeners and viewers with?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. It's lovely to see you and talk to you anyway. And you're a very lovely interviewer. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that as well. I just think that it's, everything is out there for everybody. And when you feel like, you wake up, I just remember that moment when I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and there'd be that couple of seconds, that split second of hello world, and then it would just come crashing down, and I would think, oh my god, I'm in a living nightmare. And just to know that there are those of us out there who understand and are there to support you and to help you, and that there does come a day when you wake up, not at 4, but about 7 o'clock in the morning, and you go, oh, I'm so glad that all went. And, I'm smiling as I said it because the relief is palpable and still is to this day. I'm a big sort of supporter of gratitude, and gratitude is amazing. But, if you don't have the practice of gratitude and just saying thank you for 3 things before you go to bed, 3 people, 3 things, it kind of just changes, recalibrates your mind from going to bed with worries to a more positive place. So if you're finding it difficult to go to sleep, try just practicing gratitude. And if you're struggling or you're not struggling, do 100 things of 100 things you're grateful for. That usually, and it's amazing actually. It just makes you go, oh, actually, it's incredible when you focus on the positives in your life, what it does. Sort of raises, sort of dopamine and happy hormones when you suddenly realize how lucky you are, even when you don't feel like you are.
Yeah, that's great advice. What a brilliant end to our podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye. Thank you.